It most certainly is, and today it is the Lean, Mean, Clean edition because Brother Nick is in studio and, shall I say, flying solo? Would that be appropriate today?
I think it would be, yes.
It is. I love it. We are tete-a-tete, mano-a-mano, one-on-one. I could keep going, but probably not good. Brother Nick, this is going to be great. We have some topicality. I really want our friends that if you have any questions to call early, because you're going to want to spend time with Brother Nick, who can walk you through with answers, explanations, or referrals to the questions you may have. So 521-8383 for Brother Nick of SHOPO. And let's just jump right in. Would you mind I'm glad we're flying solo together.
Thank you.
Just a reminder of background with HPD, role and responsibility with SHOPO.
So I've been a police officer with the Honolulu Police Department just shy of 16 years. Started in 2008. I've been a patrol officer for the majority of it. For the last 14 months or so, I've been an investigator in the traffic division, but I was a beat cop in Kaligi. I was a beat cop in Makali Mo'iliili. I was a beat cop out in the Waianae area for a while. With SHOPO, I've kind of run the gamut of many different union responsibilities. I've been a shop steward. I was alternate director. I was chapter secretary for a while, chapter vice chair, chapter chair. Mm-hmm. Recently moved over to the state board treasurer spot about a month ago. So we have a new chapter chair and a new vice chair in Honolulu. Mm-hmm. But doing the union gig now for about roughly 12 years.
Wow. Excellent. What is the role of SHOPO and what's the meaningfulness to our officers?
SHOPO is the only labor advocate organization for police officers in the state of Hawaii, recognized under law as the only entity that has bargaining rights and representative rights for police officers. We have a collective bargaining agreement with the state of Hawaii. It encompasses all 4 counties, so Hawaii, Big Island, Maui, Kauai, and Honolulu police departments, city and county for each municipality. 57 articles in the contract. Mm-hmm. Those articles cover everything from subsidized vehicles, uniform and equipment, parking, overtime, internal investigations, discipline, work hours, mm-hmm. holidays, condition of facilities, and so on.
Covers an entire swath of areas of responsibility, I guess. That's
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. The rank differentiation between SHOPO and management. What rank again is that?
The cutoff for being represented by SHOPO is the rank of lieutenant in any police department.
So lieutenant and below, and then it would be major and above?
Captain and above.
Captain and above. Sorry, yeah. Gotcha. And what's your assessment when you talk labor and management? How's the relationship forged, and how are things going on Oahu? And we can discuss, because we focused on Kauai in a previous recent show, but how are things going here at home?
Well, the first part of your question, how is it forged? Typically, each chapter tries to keep the best relationship it possibly can mm-hmm. with the chief of police, deputies, assistants, and other what we call excluded managers. Not always easy to maintain. It goes without saying that there are times when we completely agree, we kind of agree, we disagree, we really disagree. Mm-hmm. The most important thing is to always have a line of communication, even in the worst times. Obviously, there are or have been chiefs of police that are easier to work with. I think it's fair to say there have probably been chapter chairs that have been easier to work with. Personalities are just personalities.
Right.
But at the same time, trying to keep communication open, always being willing to have a clear mind the next day, always willing to revisit, even if things aren't going too well, and to keep really trying to solve problems. I think at the end of the day, solving the problem is the most important thing more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. If we were to cite singing out of the same hymnal with the administration, where is the common ground between management and labor? Common ground, in other words, in regard to policy, there's agreement. In regard to recruitment, there's agreement. In regard to terms. And you mentioned uniforms and equipment. I'd like to get an update on that either now or a little bit later. I had a conversation with Chief Joe this past Thursday regarding that. And I know that this was a profound topic when we first started the SHOPO Hour.
Most of the time, both sides, labor and management, want to get to the finish line. Mm-hmm. And most of the times we're both advocating for the rank and file to get to that finish line as well. The hard part is getting through the nuances on both sides in order to make it happen. I think if there's anything that's difficult in the relationship, it's trying to get one side to see where the other side is coming from. That's not always the easiest thing, and often I think we get caught up in what's going on around us, immediately around us, so much that it's hard for us to get out of that shell and sort of say, okay, well, this is actually a bigger picture. It's not always easy to fix all of the nuances that are causing the problem as well. Often I think that if both sides can acknowledge that this is a bigger issue beyond us. For example, there are legislative changes that need to happen. There are budgeting rules and purchasing rules that need to be changed in order for us to get through this. It makes it a lot easier for both sides to work together. Sometimes it's really just comes down to just being flat out honest with each other. Mm-hmm. This is our problem. You guys have this part of it. We have this part of it. Can we both meet together to fix both sides to get it to work?
Great. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, and we'll move on in a moment, but interesting. Are you able to cite one particular issue that is of top priority with SHOPO and membership that you would like to see accomplished much sooner than later?
I do think that the retention aspect of holding on to police officers, keeping them beyond that 3-year mark, holding on to them from year 4 up until year 25 or beyond, is really the next biggest step that we have to go through. The bonuses for signing and staying in for the first 3 years are a great first step. I can't be happier for them. I'm really proud of what the department's done for that. A little bit of work that SHOPO put in to help as well. It's a great movement. It's a small part of the process. It's a victory, but it's a block in the building block of how to fix this problem.
Sure.
And I would say that this is kind of a cautionary tale as well. Bear with me, because it's a good victory, but we can't treat it as the only solution to this problem. This is a much bigger problem than just simply fixing it with putting some money out there to get people to kind of get a taste and stay in for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things is, as you described, that is a formula I believe exists in virtually all labor management, whether it's union or non-union. It's trying to meld the visions and the priorities, and the word compromise comes up. However, there are areas that you will have where compromise, not really the objective. And then you have to work through that to find a common ground. So the fact that, would we agree that one, communication lines are open? And number 2, on issues, may throw down a couple of times, but the objective is to do what is best overall.
I think in Honolulu, communication lines are open. I regret to say that I think they're a bit convoluted. Sometimes getting to the chief of police is kind of hard. I think it's because, and I'm just guessing, but I think he tends to follow sort of a military chain of command sort of thing. you can notify him directly, but I've noticed that his administration seems to prefer to be notified in an indirect chain of command kind of way. Also, it's not exactly easy to get one-on-one conversations with Chief Arthur Logan. He tends to come into the room with a lot of people with him. So to sit down face-to-face like you and I are right now, it's a pretty rare event with him.
Has it ever been requested of him directly to take that time and to have that discussion?
I have to admit that I've been abiding by his request for chain of command.
Understand. So thanks for sharing, just so we have a further understanding. Now, we have different chapters, obviously different counties. I referenced Kauai, and there have been headlines which are in the news, but I'd have to say old news, because we've had this conversation ongoing now for several weeks, but it is now more in the general public regarding the relationship with the Kauai police chief and his team. Are there any updates? For instance, has there been any movement by the Kauai Police Commission or Mayor Kawakami having input? How are we now?
Obviously, a media piece came out last week regarding the Kauai chief. It's my understanding that at the moment he's actually out of town on a mixture of business and a personal leave vacation. I can't comment any further than that. I'm not aware of any other movement on the issue. Sorry.
Okay. Nope, no worries. 7:22 in the morning. Brother Nick is in studio. The other gentlemen, I think they're in Vegas. There's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and they didn't want to miss it. So, and I can understand it. Now, Brother Steve is on assignment and will return shortly. Brother Mark Criccio, heaven only knows. But we miss Bobby, Brother Bobby, and hope to see him very soon as well. But I'm glad we have this time.
Thank you.
I referenced a story that was in the news with a gentleman that unfortunately was accosted in Waikiki crossing the Alawai Bridge. It was the basis for a headline of, I have it written down, but basically 911 and the difficulties to connect, at least with the story that was shared here. What does this mean to the general public when a headline story says 911 couldn't get through, received a voicemail?
I'm familiar with the story,
okay.
And I regret to inform you that unfortunately it's pretty true. It's no secret within the police department that police dispatchers have a very difficult job, and it's also no secret within the department that they are short-staffed, and just like the rank and file sworn officers of our department this year, the dispatchers are going to suffer huge shortages as well. This is going to be a turning point for your sworn officers, and this is going to be a turning point for your dispatchers. There are people in both positions that are eligible to retire in large numbers and can leave at any time and are going to do so. Yeah. We had the luxury of having a dispatcher in here a couple of times. It was a wonderful opportunity, and one of the things that I alluded to when she was here on our last day was that I hope that we could get on this particular topic of conversation, because I don't like to call it a dirty secret, because I don't think it's dirty, but it is a very important thing for everybody out there to know, that those of us in HPD have known for a long time, and it's got to get out there. Public awareness needs to be focused on this, because obviously this story it's right on point.
The individual, and I wanted to cite that dispatch had sent an officer. It was obviously well after the attack, but the victim was able to receive care. But we're told and taught, don't take matters in your own hands, don't confront, don't do this, retreat if you're being threatened, and call 911. And it's my understanding about a 34% shortage of personnel just in comms and dispatch alone, and that pervades the entire department, as you alluded to, and we've discussed many times. What could you share with the general public to assure that, yes, there may be a shortage, and yes, we are overcoming that, but speak to the safety concerns that folks may have?
First of all, I've never worked in the communications division. I don't have the skill set to be a dispatcher. Dispatchers are extremely unique people. Their ability to task different things on different levels is attuned to a level of thinking that I just don't have. I just don't have that ability. It's not a natural instinct for me. I don't have those traits. So I highly respect them. If you said, Nick, would you go over to dispatch today to help them out? I would say yes, very begrudgingly, because I just don't think I could do the job very well. I'm happy being a cop. I could never be a dispatcher.
Right.
If you call for police assistance, we will get there. If it's a priority call, you will be routed to the priority line. If there are backups or a backlog in calls, unfortunately, regardless of the emergency, you are going to have to wait until somebody can pick up that line. And as the article alluded to, there are two layers. There is an initial call taker that will route you to another call taker, a specialty call taker, right? There may be a lag time between the initial call, picking up the phone, and routing you to another call taker, because that other call taker may be overtaxed and working on a backlog of calls as well. Every patrol officer knows that we do have a backlog of calls. And if the field is already short-staffed, if you are working in a district that has a large geographic area with a small amount of police officers, if there are things like major traffic tie-ups, particular time of the day means that you just can't move around as quickly as you could versus another time of the day. If there are major events going on, such as you have a major felony arrest or a couple of felony arrests, or officers pinned down on different cases all over the place, it's going to be hard for us to get to you in a timely manner. I think the article alluded that the victim actually said that the officer who responded said, I was actually on another call.
Right.
That's common, all right?
Yeah.
And we often have to apologize when we get the cases, because people are mad and they're frustrated at us for not showing up fast enough, but we're trying as hard as we can to get there. And we understand that some of this is life and death. I can tell you that often officers will be on one call, and it will be a non-priority call, and they'll hear a priority call come in and literally tell the person in front of them,
gotta go,
I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And even on some occasion, it's not that often, but I'll just say it, sometimes we don't actually get back to you because the day just takes us in another direction. And unfortunately, if you want that service that you called for, you're going to have to call back, or dispatch is going to have to remind somebody else to get back to you later on. This is not super routine, but it's routine enough for us to know that when we go to work every day, we have to be in that mindset that this is how we're going to have to do business. And it's unfortunate, and I'm telling you, the shorter staffed we get in both rank and file sworn officers and dispatchers out there, the harder it is for us to get to these calls in a timely manner.
Yeah, understand. I can appreciate that very much. And part of, my gosh, we're already halfway through, Brother Nick. But continuing with this, abandoned calls. I understand that we receive over 1 million calls. 80% plus are directed to HPD. What are abandoned calls, and what percentile do they comprise the number that are shared?
Abandoned calls, typically when our dispatch send us to an abandoned call, we call it a drop 911 or an open line sometimes. An open line isn't necessarily an abandoned call, but what it means to say is that someone has called 911 and they've either hung up or the line is open and we're not getting any information or any read. Officers have to be sent to everyone because you may have, you never know, right? What's the percentage? It depends, but it's frequent enough on a daily basis for us to probably spend 2, 3, maybe 4 calls a day going to them, maybe per sector on a watch. So total for a shift, you may get between 15 and 20, depending.
I see. I don't got so much more. If you don't mind, just a couple other things. There was a story where 911 dispatchers, either individuals or collectively, were petitioning to be recognized as first responders. First of all, I always have. I don't, but the request for it, first of all, are they represented by SHOPO? Second of all, were they eligible for hazard pay under the recent agreements? And by the way, was the one for Honolulu, for Oahu, hazard pay levels and disbursement, has that been approved? I know Neighbor Island, but has it been approved here?
Okay, going backwards. So hazard pay on Honolulu has not been approved yet. There's been no settlement. We have turned in a large number of applications from our members, over 1,500, based on the arbitrator's award. Those have gone through our department and then over to, hopefully, city HR. Okay. The only county to have settled and made a payout so far is Maui.
Yes.
Now, to your other questions, should 911 call takers and operators be recognized as first responders? In my personal opinion, yes. Mm-hmm. Are they covered by SHOPO? No, they're not. Okay. They are unionized. They are not covered by SHOPO. And it's my understanding that through their union, they probably have the opportunity to apply for hazard pay. But you would have to have someone from their union in here to give you accurate information on that.
Understand. Is it, I would imagine, HGEA, but I may be mistaken.
I believe it is.
I think it is, too. All right. Can we make this a 4-hour show? We'll just go till noon, Nick, if that's okay.
Got nothing to do.
Yeah. If we want to connect and learn more about SHOPO, how do we do so?
Visit our website, and I'm shopohawaii.org, and I believe we're also on Instagram. Excuse me. Here's my social media lacking. I'm so sorry.
Here we go. No. I think we'll start with online, and we'll go from there.
Yes, thank you.
That sounds great. Brother Nick is in studio. Miss our boys, they're off either on assignment, or Brother Mark Criccio, he's off compromising his values as an adult male.
Hopefully we can get him back to the country safely.
I hope so, too. Stand by. SHOPO Hour with Brother Nick continues. We are back.
Honolulu Police Department is obviously hiring. We do have incentive bonuses out there that the department just started. I think our very first recruit class to receive these just started about 2 weeks ago. And I congratulate them in jumping on, and also I encourage them to stick with it, and I hope they do well in all of their studies at the academy. The academy is not an easy process by any means, so anybody who takes on the challenge, bonus or not, is definitely committed to this job.
You mentioned before, and we take it to heart, that this is a very, very valuable initial step, and the fact that it's actually here is of great value. But as you mentioned, it's going to be the ongoing. In your view, what's the number one barricade in the recruitment process? What would that be in your mind?
From my point of view, I think it's the legislative changes that happened back in 2012 in this state, where police officers were required to essentially the retirement age got longer, and the amount of time that you had to stay in the department in order to be eligible for retirement got longer as well. So officers got locked into this situation where they essentially they couldn't retire as earlier as the people who came before them, and also how the money that they made in the time that they were in the department and how it applied to their retirement benefits changed as well. So the overtime, for example, for me that I make applies to what my percentage of earnings in retirement would be when I retire. The overtime that these people make does not. They simply just have to go for the highest possible base salary that they could get.
Got it.
So that to me is the next big hurdle. There are other things as well for long-term retention, and I think there are things we can do for the people who are outside of that came in before 2012 that we can do as well.
I appreciate that very much, and we'll always have an expansive discussion in that light. Let's go to our phone calls, and we'd love to have you join us with Brother Nick. It is the SHOPO Hour. With Nick has a microphone. I have half a microphone, so that is working out. Let's go to Kurt out in Niu Valley. And Kurt, thank you for your patience. And you're on with Brother Nick of SHOPO.
Hey, good morning to both of you. Hey, Brother Nick, do you have any data marking the results of the changes with the 12-hour shift, in terms of maybe time it takes to respond to a call, or amount of coverage, or retention, anything like that?
Kurt, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the first portion of his question.
Kurt, could you hit me back? First part of the question.
Sure. Do you have any data showing the results of the change to the 12-hour shift for some officers? Does it change the amount of the time it takes for an officer to respond to a call in their area, or maybe retention beyond 25 years to 30, or anything that shows that it has a effect other than feeling good?
There we go. But what is it other than feeling good? That's an interesting comment. Brother Nick?
No, I have no data to answer those questions. We haven't examined it from that point of view.
I think it's rather recent, though, that it wouldn't be a compilation of data that would lead to some of Kurt's questions. Is that an assumption?
It is still kind of new. I mean, we haven't hit the 1-year mark on it yet, but also I don't think that anyone really had the point of view that he does. So it's an interesting way to look at it, and I'll definitely take it into consideration when we examine it again, if we do.
Thank you, Brother Kurt, for the call. But what it's the implication with the last comment was, is it proving to be more of a benefit to the officer, although there may be a compromise in response time and numbers of personnel that are on the various shifts?
I don't see there being any compromise with regards to response time. I think the response time is dictated more by the amount of people that you have in the field versus the volume of calls that you're getting. That has always been the universal factor. How long somebody is working, I don't really think that plays into it. There may be a question of, is the shift too long? Is there fatigue? And is that kind of bogging people down in how fast they get to things or how fast they can respond? If that's your question, we haven't looked at it that way, but we haven't looked at it that way because there's never been an inclination that it would be a factor. The only factor I think that really plays into response time, well, again, geography versus how many people you have out there in the field versus the amount of work that's coming in. And the type of work that's coming in, or the type of work that's already out there on the burners.
Right. Kurt, thanks again for the call at 521-8383. 7:45 in the morning already, and we've covered 2 topics. That was pretty good. Let me, if I could, invoke this. Last week, it was a town hall meeting. Waianae side, Nanakuli side, Makaha side. Samantha DeCourt, very active in the community, neighborhood board member, cited just right to as long with Andrea Topola, a city council member in the district, just said straight up, safety. Safety's the number one issue. And we're all aware of the ne'er-do-wells that regardless of law or not, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do, and we understand that. To mitigate the effects on the general public, the Waianae Station. And the assurances by Mike Formby and the mayor that were shared at that meeting that it's not on the back burner, I believe, was part of the commentary, and that a chiller was required to be installed. They're underway on that process. Has SHOPO been apprised of any progress or status of when this station will open? And is there conversations about the staffing of that station when it does?
Directly to me, no. I wish Robert Cavaco were here today. He does work out in that district, so he probably has a better knowledge of it than I do. But we haven't really been kept directly in the loop on that one, so I don't have much information to give you. I'm sorry.
So in the information highway, is SHOPO included on progress reports when it's something pretty fundamental? We need a station. We have a station. It's not yet open. It'll be open here. Is there inclusivity in any of that, or is it after the fact that SHOPO is brought in?
Often what you'll find is that SHOPO is the one that's pointing out to the department that there's a problem. We end up being a voice for and an advocate for our members. So our members will feel uncomfortable about approaching the department because it is a paramilitary organization. There is, again, chain of command. There is, unfortunately, at times a fear of retaliation or scrutiny. If someone speaks up, they think that maybe something is going to happen to them internally. And so they use us as an advocate in that way. So from our point of view, typically we get notified by somebody who says, hey, the roof at this particular station has been leaking for 3 months and it's been causing mold in here, and everybody comes to work and just deals with it. Is there anything that your safety and health committee can do about it? In which case our ears perk up and we do a little bit of investigation, and then we ask the department for a sit down on it, and then we get the ball rolling in that way.
And how the relationship with the Honolulu Police Commission, is there inclusivity in that relationship?
With the Honolulu Police Commission, it has been almost exclusively SHOPO reaching out and extending the hands. And to the Commission's credit, when we do ask them, would you like to meet? Would you like to have a sit down? They do say yes. Now, the Commission does meet with us when they are preparing an annual review of the Chief of Police.
I see.
So we are asked as a chapter to sit down for a small measure of time to answer a few questions about how the Chief of Police is doing in order to prepare an evaluation for the Commission that the Commission makes, not us. But other than that, that's basically the relationship. I mean, we went in there in March of this year to highlight the staffing crisis and the research that we did looking into the future of the department based on what's going on right now. It was, I think it was well received. I think we still have a lot of work to do to educate them, because you have a police commission right now that, as we've said before, has no law enforcement experience in it whatsoever. It has county administrative experience, has a lot of attorney experience, but there's nobody on there that's ever been a cop. So one of the things we think about is how do we frame this in a way so that it makes sense to those kinds of people.
I'll tell you what, thank you for that. Learning more and more along with Brother Nick. Your telephone calls, if you'd like to join us, love to hear from you. It is the SHOPO Hour. Of course, our brothers in our thoughts as they're on assignment and elsewhere, but glad Brother Nick is with us.
It's the SHOPO Hour on News Radio 830 KHVH.
Welcome back. It is 7:53 in the morning. SHOPO Hour continues. Brother Nick is with us in studio, 521-8383. If you would like to be a part of the program, we have some time together. I'm going through my 1,700 notes that I put together. Okay, 4. And taking a look at what would be top of mind. It was a rough weekend out on the roads with multiple collisions and, unfortunately, loss of life and multiple, about 12 injuries that I came across. Just one of those weekends, Brother Nick?
I think traffic accidents do ebb and flow. There are periods of a lot of work, and there are periods where not much is going on at all. This weekend did have some pretty noteworthy accidents. Unfortunately, there was loss of life, and there were casualties as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict, but apparently the statistics seem to show that, unfortunately, we're on par this year in our stats to match last year.
Yeah. Electric bikes. The reason I bring it up, selfish, because we were going to get a car for Zoe while she's visiting, but parking was the main culprit. So we're looking at mopeds. I reached out to a friend and said, hey, anybody you know got a moped that might be willing to sell? No, don't really know about that. The one thing I know, it's dangerous. And that's always in my mind. What's your take with moped interaction with regular traffic and secondarily or parallel electric bikes?
Mopeds, not quite a motor vehicle, but very much a motor vehicle. Mm-hmm. Dangerous to operate? Can be, absolutely. Should you be cautious, abide by the traffic code, and wear safety protection? Absolutely. Sometimes a helmet is the only thing that's going to save you from a catastrophic injury. We've seen them souped up. We see a lot of people hot dog them in traffic. You see them on the freeways sometimes when they're not supposed to be there. It is illegal to have a passenger on a moped.
Oh, it is illegal.
You can be cited for that.
Oh, geez.
You do need a driver's license or a permit in order to operate a moped. You can also be cited for that. If you own a motor scooter, you do need to be insured. All things that a lot of people don't know. And to be honest with you, property crimes, mopeds are stolen very frequently. They're some of them are actually quite easy to steal and quite easy to hotwire, believe it or not. Little kids could do it if you taught them how.
Wow.
That's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a viable form of transportation, but you do have to secure them properly. You do have to abide by the traffic code, and you do have to ride respectfully to the people around you. And modifying the engines as well is also illegal. Do people get into traffic accidents and die on mopeds? Yes, they do. Electric bikes. To me personally, they're becoming extremely concerning. And that's because they seem to have an ability to accelerate and keep speed as if they were like a small dirt bike or something like that. From my point of view, they seem to be able to accelerate faster than a moped often. And they're very nimble. People tend to try and ride them through traffic in and out. So, and that's dangerous. It's hard for us to nab them as well because they're so nimble that they're extremely evasive, and it's really not worth trying to catch one in traffic because they may end up causing a collision, or you may end up causing a collision trying to get to them.
So electric bikes, no license, no really anything. Is that correct?
So they should be, from my understanding, registered at least as bicycles. However, you're not required to have an operator's license in order to own one or ride one, and you're not required to carry any personal liability insurance whatsoever with them.
Any age? Age-wise, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, you can hop on an electric bike.
I am not familiar with an age restriction.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
What's top speed of an electric bike?
So they should be regulated. And again, I'm not familiar with exactly what the top speed would be. I think common sense tells you not faster than a pedal bike, but I think we can all agree that we've seen them go much faster than that.
Differentiation between a moped, a scooter, and a motorcycle. Could you share that, please?
Typically, it's engine displacement. A moped has a certain engine displacement that allows it to only go up to a particular speed. That speed is usually not more than about 35 miles an hour. A motor scooter has a larger engine that allows it to go faster and on the freeways. And then, of course, a motorcycle has a big enough engine to virtually go anywhere, surface, street, or highway, freeway.
And each with different levels of requirements in order to operate.
Yes.
Okay. We're in the final minute already. Brother Nick, I can't thank you enough. This has been a great conversation, and so much more was on the agenda. Just one quick thing in about 10. Evidently, that first responders, and there are reactions because of planned shutdowns by HECO, power outages that you have to navigate as first responders.
Yes, yeah, that'll be an interesting time for sure. Obviously, the Maui fires have heightened our awareness of what could potentially happen, and so we're going to have to modify our operations in the future in order to accommodate those possibilities.
Brother Nick, can't thank you enough. We'll get together next week, and maybe the boys will have the next week off too. How does that sound?
I hope so, and just a reminder, Police Week is coming up starting May 12th.
Amen. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. It's already 8 o'clock.